And let's see if I have the rights to do that. For me, it is not working. I do not have the rights to do that. But I will also show you some resources where you can have a look again. So we have video tutorials available for Novel that show you exactly how to do certain things on the platform, and they are available for you 24/7. So again, we start with a PowerPoint presentation, and then we go into the platform and we're searching there. So before we do that, I briefly want to introduce myself. So my name is Christian Vier. I'm with Elsevier for 7.5 years now, and I am in the engineering and geoscience portfolio. And yeah, I'm supporting, first of all, the universities globally, so students and researchers, but I also worked for some time in our corporate business, because there are also many companies using our engineering solutions as a valuable resource for their employees. So it's not only a solution, a tool that you would use in academics. Is also later, if you aspire a career in the corporate sector, you will most probably see Novel again. I want to illustrate that with a search on Google, why also a Novel is the better choice to start your search on. And in this case, I was looking for the topic metal fatigue. So, and of course, I get lots of interesting resources on Google. And by all means, there are also really good information on Google, but some are really doubtful, and you really need to consider the quality of these resources. So if you still want to do a Google search, perfectly fine, but feel free also to vet this information on Novel later, because not everything is really reliable there. But in this case, I was looking for metal fatigue, as you can see here. Up in the search box, and I get, for example, results on computer games, and this is not really what I was looking for. For example, when I'm working on a project or on a capstone project or just on a presentation about this topic, this is really not what I was looking for. What can happen if you use just random resources of the internet is the following. It can have consequences for health, safety, and environment. And this is, of course, what we want to avoid. If you search on Novel, you know it's scientific information, so you can trust these information, so you can use them, you can cite them, and you, of course, can always refer to them. What exactly is covered in Novel, we will have a look in just a minute. But I just want to make sure you know that the information there are trustworthy. And again, if you find information out there on the internet where you're not entirely sure if you could use them, you just drop by on Novel and see if you can vet this information. What you get are trusted, citable information that can inform your decisions, but also for study projects, for example, or for capstone projects, or for your thesis. That's also possible. There's a text search available, but there's also a material and property search available. We will have a look at this later onwards. You also get actionable data from analysis tools. So one point I want to make here is that we digitize a lot of table data from our sources, so you can search through them and you can take advantage of a search through all these table information, because we know there's lots of really good content in tables, but it's often hidden and it's very hard to find if you have a table just as a PDF, for example, or if you have it just as an image. So it makes it very hard to find the information you're looking for. And if you find information, you can also set up folders on Novel. You can share them with your study mates or with other researchers globally. So we also want to encourage contributions to these folders, and you can collaborate through these folders basically. If you know the gentleman here on the left-hand side, that's MacGyver. So that's one of the heroes of my use, with his Swiss Army knife on the shoulder. And this is also how we want to see Novel, because we know that the workflows of engineers are very versatile. So of course, you have to bring yourself up to speed on new topics. You have to calculate. You can see here you use Excel or simulation tools, for example. You have to go to the library, still go to the library, of course, to get your information there. Sometimes you have to print out graphs, and you have to go over with ruler and pencil to pick up your data points. And this is also something we encourage you to do on Novel. So because we funnel all these different things, so you get a good one-stop shop for your engineering information needs. I don't want to say that you can resolve everything with Novel, but it's definitely a good start, and there's really good quality information on Novel available for all of you, of course. And you can access this virtually, also remotely if you like, and it's available to you 24/7. What's covered in Novel are different content sources, also from different content providers. You see, I've listed a couple here. You might recognize some, like big ones like Wiley, for example, but we have also societies on the platform, or here AICHE, IET, iChemie, NACE. In June, we get another content provider on the platform. I will discuss that a little bit later on. And the big advantage here is that everything is full text on Novel. So we won't link you out to the full text, so you get really everything on the platform. And what do we cover from all these different providers? So by the way, this is only a selection. I want to make the point here that's not only Elsevier content, it's really 160 different content providers and societies that we bundle into the platform. So that makes it very easy for you. Instead of going to all these different societies, content providers, publishers, you can start a Novel and see if there's anything in there that you would like to use. We have handbooks on the platform, as you can see here, also chapter level sorting functionality and filtering functionality is available, conference proceedings, engineering cases, regulatory information, to just give you an idea what's available, but there's much more to discover. So keep it in mind, more than 160 different publishers, and everything is full text on the platform. So you will typically start with a text search, and the huge advantage of Novel is that you can bring yourself up to speed on a new topic in no time. So that's very easy. Also, my recommendation, search for something you're not yet an expert in to see how fast you can get yourself up to speed. So don't search for something you already know the answer to, search for something you don't know. That shows you definitely the added value of having access to Novel. And I mentioned it earlier that we digitize most of the table information from our resources, and what you get is a material property search. And this can be very handy, especially in projects during studying, but also later in research when you're looking for certain materials. You can run the material property search and look for material substances in here, and then you can add the properties here from the right-hand side to the left-hand side and find hopefully material that suits your needs. I will also do a live demo of that functionality later on. So keep that in mind. It's not only text here, it's also materials or substances you can find on Novel. So as a result, you will get table information, and I mentioned it earlier, the potential value of table information, and lots of content is just hidden and it's very hard to find, and we make it possible, and you can use it also on Novel with a basic Excel functionality. So you can sort in here, for example, and you can then export the data sets you need and remove everything that is unneeded at this point. And again, it's about finding the information. In this case, we're looking for metals, for different metals, and finding, filtering, make a selection, and then you can also export the information you found, and you can put it in Excel or in a simulation tool, for example, or just also quote it in your thesis, for example, or project. If you start reading a Novel and you come across these blue buttons, so this indicate that we enrich the functionality in these titles. So that means you have a live graph available. And what does that mean? So we have different sorts of live graphs. We want to save you time in printing those graphs and then picking these data points up with ruler and pencil. So you can do that digitally. So whenever you see a live graph, you can just hover over these graphs and you can pick up data points here. And what happens is then on the left-hand side, you see the X and the Y values. You're picking those up from the graphs in here. And of course, you can also export those. So you get then two files. So you get one file with the actual data with X and Y values. And of course, you get your image also with the data points you added here. And you can use it, for example, in a PowerPoint presentation. If you calculate a lot, I also recommend to have a look at the KNovel equation solver. So we have a lot of different equations on the platform, and they are at your service. So you just go in KNovel, and if you search, you will also be presented with the results when it comes to equations. Or you go to the equations, and then you pick one, and you just go in here, and you see you have the legend with variables and units, the calculation itself, of course, here. And you can just change your variables in here, and you will see that the result will change. And this is definitely something I also want to encourage you to have a look at. There are a lot of these calculations available on KNovel, and it's very easy for you to just search for them and then enter your variables and get very easily and quickly to a result. And you can also change all these equations on here. That's also possible. So this is kind of an interactive worksheet we provide to you. And this is the My KNovel tile basically here on the left hand side, and this is where you organize yourself and you can set up folders, and in a minute we will also do that. And you can set up alerts in here. You can use your My Activities. So what have you done last week, last month, for example. And you can also share these folders in here with study mates, for example. That's also possible. Again, so My KNovel is where you organize yourself. So you can have a folder for your study project, for your capstone project, but also for your thesis. And this way you can organize yourself. Some folders you might want to share, some you don't. That's perfectly fine. But this is our way to encourage collaboration. What's new on KNovel for those who already know it? So I have a couple of items I want to introduce to you. And I added one of the links already earlier into the chat box while we were waiting for other attendees. We have a news feed on KNovel. So this is updated hourly, and you get the news, and you have also a filter for the industry in here, and you can also have a look at these reliable resources for news, for example, on KNovel. So if you're interested in the latest developments, this can also be a way to discover them. We welcomed ASME last year as a content partner, for example. We also started last year with Springer, with A-Press in here, also relevant for you, the content. So we have contents like managing and making sense of data and automation, repetitive task. I will also show you a little bit more later on. And this is how we started. And the update on Springer is also coming on the next slide then, because we will add more content. So Patty's Industrial Hygiene we added. We have facets for industry search, and KNovel search itself also helps you to really focus on an industry. Some industries might not be relevant for you, so you can leave them out. Titles for the project management certifications are on KNovel. You see here the Six Sigma Yellow Belt Handbook and the Green Belt, for example, project management, all resources you might not immediately think of that are available, but they definitely are on KNovel. And next month, so in June, we add more content from Springer Nature. But of course, you're familiar with Springer as a very large publisher out there. So we add more titles, 230 authoritative book titles for topics like automation, additive manufacturing, and power systems, but also conference proceedings from minerals and metals, material societies, and so on and so forth. So this will be added from next month onwards, and to the various subject areas out there. To bring it all together in one statement, in KNovel you do the same thing you do with Google, but in KNovel it's exact something you can trust. And this is really one of the most important points for novel. So sometimes you find things on the internet you cannot trust. This is the big difference. And this is a statement we got from a research engineer a while ago. And it's really about the reliability of the information you have. You want to work with high quality information and not just random information of the internet. Okay, with that, we want to move over into a novel, and I will open my web browser, and you can do the same thing with me if you like. So you definitely have a limited subscription. I see more results than you would do, but feel free to search along with me. I also give you the link. And it might very well be that you have to go through Easy Proxy to get access if you're on campus. Otherwise, if you're willing to search along with me, you can do that, and then we can start here. So what do we see here on Novel? So we have the search box, which is, of course, according to my opinion, the most important thing, because with this search box, you can search through all the different subject areas and titles. And you see, you can just enter a couple of keywords in here. You can also enter CAS registry numbers. You can do a title search. You can use Boolean operators in here. That's also possible. And you can see what is out there. So the very first thing you could do is, before we search, actually, you could click here on browse to get an overview on the subject areas that you subscribe to. So again, your subscription is limited to a handful of subject areas. I have much more available here. But if you then click on tools and content, and this is also the link I gave you earlier, and scroll down, you go to the engineering overviews. And this is one way you can start your journey on Novel. And maybe we start with a topic like, let's see what we have. We have engineering ethics is a very interesting topic also for our academic customers. And here you can see an introduction to the topic. You can see the top industry searches at the moment, morality, code of ethics, justice, sustainability, integrity. And you can just click on these search terms and you will run a search on Novel. And we have some videos also listed here. And we have also prepared reading lists on different topics here. So this is definitely something you could have a look at. Engineering ethics. And maybe I also copy that link into the chat box, so you can pick it up from there. But maybe I show you one more that could be of interest. Making sense of data, but feel free to pick any of those to have a look what's behind there. Making sense of data. It's maybe one, and you see at the top industry searches like artificial intelligence, Python, MATLAB, visualization, big data, TensorFlow, analytics, C++, and so on and so forth. And here you can also click on these terms to run a novel search to see what's behind here. Could be data science, data mining, business analytics, and so on and so forth. And also here we have the newly released titles, and also we have, if you scroll further down, more and more titles for you, and also the key resources, and you can start reading the full text from there. You can always use the browser navigation on Novel, go back and forth here, and that's also possible. And you also get the overview on all the different tools and functionalities of Novel. So this is also something you might want to discover after our session here. So because we are rather limited with regards to the time. So I want to encourage you after this session to stay on Novel and see what is out here, what you can use, because we could easily spend hours to discover everything. So there's really a lot more than I will show you today. So, but if we want to go back to the search, we can always click on a little house here in the left upper corner, and here we go to the to the search box. And if we want to search, maybe we go into a different direction with the search. Now we're looking for corrosion information, and while we're typing, we also get the first keywords here. So corrosion, corrosion data, corrosion cell, corrosion rate, corrosion types, but also the first resources. So with one more click, I could also go directly into a full text title here. And if we search, so you can just hit enter or click on that little search button here. Then we search now through all the different titles. And again, you might see different results than I do. And we can have a look at the results now. Or we can first filter, and this is also something I recommend. So have a look at the filter set here on the left-hand side, the content type. So we see we have a lot of books available, case studies, chapters, conference papers, conference proceedings, databases, dictionaries, encyclopedia, equations, as I said earlier, but also interactive graphs, regulatory information, also table information. And by all means, if corrosion is not of your interest, this is really just an example from my end. Feel free to search for something else and see what is available to you. And here we could, for example, filter on the chapter level. This is something I recommend because you do not always need to read a full book title in order to get the information. It saves you a lot of time to just filter on the chapter. And if we here have, for example, the first result, corrosion and corrosion protection, we can click on here. And in the next level, in the next step, we will go into the full text now, and we can start reading our full text here. So what we did now is we searched a novel for corrosion, we filtered on the chapter, and now we go into the full text and we can read it from here. And this is our reader, and you can go now through the whole chapter and read. And if you see something that is interesting, you can also highlight this text, as you can see. And you can also add notes here. And if we want to add a note, then we can do that. And maybe we want to, I already have a note here I can see, but maybe we want to use that for our project. We can also color code it. Maybe we color code it blue. And now on the right-hand side, you see this is what we added here. And we can see that we want to use that for our capstone project, for example. This is an older note. We can also easily delete them. And if I come back tomorrow, next week, this will be still here for me, reminding me that I wanted to use this for my capstone project, for example. And you can also get the citation easily out of here. But first of all, we want to save it, and we click here on the Save button. And we want to set up a new folder. So we create a new folder. We call it webinar. We create this folder. And we can add this resource into that folder. So what I did now is I pressed Save. I created a new folder, and I added this chapter, this section basically, into that folder. And I can add way more if I would like to do that. Citation. So next to the Save button up here, we have the Cite button. Click on Cite, and we get you different formats like the RIS, the BibTeX, and the plain text. So you can also use it for your citation manager. You can also download certain chapters if this is needed as PDF, but you can also share this information with others. So click on share, you generate a link basically. You can just copy and paste it, and you can also send it through Teams or through email. That's also possible, yeah. Or you can open as a PDF. So if you want to see the rest of the chapters, you can click on this button here on the left-hand side, and you see there's lots more in this title. But we're not interested in anything else here, so we close it, and maybe we go back, and we want to maybe run another search, for example. Can always go back to the beginning on the little house here in the left upper corner. And maybe we want to look now for, oops, we want to look for project management. Then we can run a search here as well. And we see again, we have the content type here as a filter. We have the concepts you can limit your search to, the industry, from aerospace down to T for telecommunications, and date and author. So feel free to spend a little bit more time in the beginning setting all the filters correctly, the less results you have to deal with afterwards. So, and if we see this one, just we click on here, and again, now we go on into the reading mode, and we can read everything here. And if we like, we can use the functionalities in here. If we are looking for materials, substances, and their properties, so we can directly go to the property search here. So this is our toolbar that allows us access to everything that is available on KNovel. And we click on property search. So we're not looking for text, we're looking for materials or substances, and we can enter our material substance here. We can also leave it empty and just work with the properties. So if you only know your properties and you would like to have a material that is according to the properties what you need. And in this case, we're interested in stainless steel. So we're keeping it broad in the beginning. So we search now all the tables on KNovel, and we got 2,713 tables and graphs as a result. And we're interested in properties like density. So by the way, if this goes too fast and you want to see the tutorial again, so you can just come here, and this is a video tutorial. So you click here on play, and then within 3 to 4 minutes, somebody will explain to you how it works again. So this is really something you can also after the session watch again. We're looking for the density, physical properties here. So we drag and drop it from the right to the left. So we drop it here. So this is the idea. You can go manually through the whole list here, or you can just filter it. And maybe we're also looking for elasticity. We're choosing the Young's modulus, elastic properties, Young's modulus, and we drag and drop it again here. And now we can also use Boolean operators to connect these two properties, density and Young's modulus. And we can also be very specific if needed here. Feel free to play around with these functionalities. And then you see we have 100 tables and graphs as a result for stainless steel with density and Young's modulus. And if we click here, we get the results. And we can have a look at the table now here. So and see that we have a material here as a wrought stainless steel. The range, the density, this is something what we wanted to see, of course, in our table. And here we have the modulus of elasticity, also something we want to see in our table. And here in this table, we can also sort ascending if we like, or descending. We can remove columns if we like. We can set filters. That's also possible. And if we have a couple of results that we want to export, so we can first of all hide the unselected rows. And we want to save it also to our folder. So we have our folder, where is it? We're gonna add this resource. And we can also download and export this as a PDF, as Excel, or as CSV. I show you as an example how it looks in Excel, because this is most probably something you work with more often. And if we have downloaded, we can open it, and this is how it looks like. There we go. So again, we only selected these 3. So we got it from this title. And now we can add, for example, other table information in here. Yeah, start plotting whatever we need, get it into a simulation tool, for example. So this is how it looks. So it's about, first of all, searching and finding information on KNovel, and you can be sure everything is highest quality on the platform, so you can trust this information. Then filtering, having a look at your results, deciding what you want to work with, and then you can also export it. And if you want to get the citation again, here's the cite button, and you can copy the citation to the clipboard or get it as one of these formats. We still have 15 minutes left, so there's other things I wanted to show you. So we continue with the My KNovel section. So again, something you've seen on my slide initially. And in My KNovel, if you click on the tile here on the left-hand side in the toolbar, you see your folders, and you see I have a lot of folders up here. And this is the one we set up earlier. And these are the 2 items we saved here. And now we can export them also for an LMS, like Moodle, Blackboard, or Canvas. So we can really set up lists for that and export them from KNovel if you would like to do that. So that could be done by a teacher, for example, for their students. Or we can share, and if I share this folder now with you, I can add your email addresses here, and I can either grant you full access or read-only access. If I decide I invite all of you and give you read access, I will keep on adding content, and you will see, okay, this is content and I need to read it. So also here the idea is you can use it as a teacher with your students. For example, I have now 10 titles you need to read in order to pass my course. And with read only, I mean you can't add anything. If I grant you full access, there could be, for example, be a study group. Everybody has full access and we can contribute all together to this folder. So I can add content, you can add content, and we can, for example, then discuss this content later on. And of course, you can rename and delete this folder here. You can set up alerts if you like. You can review your activity. There's also quick access to your folder here from anywhere. So you can just click on my folder, go to different folders, and you can see I have a lot here. I have unfiled items, a couple. So that can also be very easy for you to switch between your folders. Under Browse, this is what we initially already reviewed. So again, you have the overview on the subject areas. And if you're interested in a certain subject and you want to know what kind of titles are behind that, you can, for example, go to mechanics and mechanical engineering and see, okay, we have more than 1,200 titles behind it. So again, everything is full text. And you can have a look through the titles here if you just want to browse around. And you can also go directly into the first title here. You can also see what's new. You see we have a table, the 3 tables in here, and you can start also reading from here. Again, you get the title, the authors, publisher, the copyrights, and the additional information, so the metadata here. And we also recommend you some other titles you want to have a look at if you are interested in this title. Equations. We have a look at the equations now. So you click here in the toolbar on equations, and you go to equations home. And if you run a search in KNovel, you will also get the filter for equations. So if we have equations available for your search, you will also see those. But you can also go in here, and if you're interested in chemistry, chemical engineering, and we just pick one on 20 equations, usually what I show. Open worksheet. And now you're in the worksheet. And as I also explained already earlier in my slide deck, you get an introduction into these equations. You get the legend with variables. And here you can now see the calculation down here. And you can just go in here, and if you want to change the temperature, for example, we have here 120 degrees Celsius. You click in here, you change it from 120 to 130 degrees Celsius. You'll also see that the result will change. You can also set up your own equations if you like. On the right-hand side, we have the options for your arithmetic, matrices, Boolean logic, functions. You can also plot in here if you like. It takes a little bit longer to get used to everything. And you can also save your worksheet. You can also download your worksheet. You can get it in MathCat, for example. So feel free to have a look around here. There's a lot to discover. There's also a unit converter. So if you see a unit like a degree Celsius and you are not familiar because you used to work with Kelvin or with Fahrenheit, you can open the unit converter. Here's an overlay, and maybe we want to know what 130 degree Celsius is. Let's see. We go through here. We are looking for temperature. Here we go. Temperature, a 130 degree Celsius. We want to know what this is in Kelvin, 403. And we also want to know what is in Fahrenheit, so 266. So this is how easy you can also do that. So because sometimes you come across units you're not familiar with. And there's also a full unit converter, so you get a dedicated tab then up here. So if you have to convert a lot, on the left-hand side, you get your input in, and on the right-hand side, you get your output. Under more tools, and this is the last thing I want to show you. We have a periodic table, you're familiar with that. We also have a promotional toolkit. We have steam calculators if you're working with water and steam. So this is also something you can take and use to your advantage. And we have also a novel browser extension. So you see that in the right upper corner here, available for Chrome and for Edge. And maybe I give you an example how that works. So because we all used to search on Google, and if we're on Google, we start searching here. And we're looking for example, we're looking for carbon steel. So I get results. Not everything is relevant here. So I got from IKEA, for example, how I can use my food in these plants. Not what I'm interested in. So the point is, you also get a pop up to the right here that should remind you that there's also good content on Novel available. And if you click here on the Novel button, that will appear then. You see resources that providing you with carbon steel. And if you see something you like, carbon, you click on it, you go into Novel, and instead of spending hours on Google, you get content on Novel and you can take it from here. So it is available also in your subscription. You can add it to your browser for Chrome and for Edge. And if you click on a browser extension, we give you a step-by-step guide on how to do that. So we have 7 minutes left. So let me quickly summarize and then I will have a look at your questions. So again, Novel is an aggregator for more than 160 different content providers, publishers, and societies. Everything is full text on the platform. Biggest advantage for you is you can search through all the content in just one search here. If you're looking for text, and by all means, look for something you do not know yet and see how fast you can get up to speed. You use this search box. If you're not sure what to do, or I haven't shown you the interactive graphs yet. So this is something also we want to do right now. Corrosion rate. So I think it's also good for you to see this. And we want to see graphs for corrosion rate. So we apply the filter graph here on the left-hand side, and we can open the graph here. And we see now this graph here, and this is also what I showed you on my slide deck earlier. So you can now go on the graph and pick up your data points here, and you see you can add more. And what happens now on the left-hand side is that you also get your X and Y values. You just add it here, and you can, of course, also export it and use the graph in the presentation, for example, and use the data in your project, for example. So this is also something I forgot to show you. So, but again, if you see something like this and it can help you really save time, you don't have to print it. You can do it in Novel. So again, it was the graph piece. If you're not sure how to use it, we have these 4 boxes here that show you tutorials for these individual functionalities. If you're looking for materials or substances, my recommendation is start with the property search. We did that earlier for stainless steel, if you remember. Have a look at this box here, enter something or don't enter anything, and work with the properties, drag and drop into the middle here. My Novel, you organize yourself. So to remind you, you can set up your folders and you can then add content, and you can also add study mates, for example. My folder is the quick access to your folder structure. On the browse, you see the overview of all the different subject areas you have access to. Equations, again, we see the equations. Unit converter can help you if you see a unit you're not familiar with. And under more tools, we have a couple of tools that might be of advantage to you. If you get stuck at some point, there's a support center button in the right upper corner. Click on the support center button. And here, you can search for the things you want to know, but there's also the top 10 frequently asked questions. And here it's also ranked 5 now. Where can I find video tutorials for Novel? And click once on that. And here is the list of all the video tutorials, and maybe also just directly give you that link into the chat box now. For all the video tutorials, you can bookmark that. And here you can bit by bit go through the functionalities. And again, between 3, 4, 5 minutes you get explained what's possible. Okay, I have a look at your questions now. Let's see if we have some. The link was shared already to the access. We had a question about the folder. So there's many ways to set up a folder, but the most common way would be you search for something, and we're searching for, let's say, solar cell. And if you see something like a chapter here, you can apply. And if you then in the reading, then if you now want to save something in a folder, you get automatically prompted with the option for that. You click on Save here. So this is the Save button in the right upper corner. And if you click on here, you get this pop-up, and maybe you can see that now better. Save to my novel. And here you get the options for folder. So here you can choose either an existing folder, or you click the first option plus create new folder. And let's say maybe this is now for my solar project, photovoltaic solar PV project. I can create this folder, and this is now here, and I can add this resource now to this folder. So this is how easy it is to set up a folder. And now you can add your resources to that folders, and you can also switch folders here and add content to other folders if this is needed. And at any time here on the left-hand side, you have access to my folder. So if you just start here and you don't want to search and you want to go directly in the folder, you click here on my folder, and here you can pick your folder. And this is the one we just set up, the solar PV project. And you see that we have the solar cells in here, what we just found, and you can get directly back into the text and start reading. So I hope that was what you were looking for. Are there any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or drop them into the chat box. We still have 1-2 minutes time to take those questions. And otherwise, have a look at the support center here. Again, you have the link now to all the tutorials. And I see there is also an attendance link and the link CPD in the chat box. Yeah, that was it then from my end. If there are no more questions, last chance for you to ask questions. And otherwise, I hope you still now have some time to discover KNovel. Again, you have access 24/7 to it. Browse around, see what you can find, what you can take to your advantage. And if there are no more questions, I would like to end the session. Thank you for your time today. I hope KNovel is something that you will use in the future. I also want to ask you if you believe that someone who didn't attend today could, take advantage of it, spread the news. So you have all access to KNovel. And if you get stuck, then reach out or have a look into the support center. Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyone else who wants to say a few words? It's not the right time. Otherwise, we will end the session now.
Thank you, Mr. Christine.
Great. Okay. You're very welcome. Have a good rest of your day. And happy searching on KNovel. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So to all participants, don't forget to fill in your attendance and CPD form. And thank you for your join our training session today.